In the previous video, we talked about functions and a little bit about variables. In this video, we are going to talk about operations and basically numerical operations, like to basically show the operators in Python. So we will reuse this function or write another function. So Python has, like every programming language, which is multiply, when we can multiply two numbers together. And it's simply using the asterisk, and that's how we return the multiplication of two numbers. And if we use this function, we can just see the output here, which is 2. 1 multiplied by 2 is 2. And we have decrement, which is very easy. We will reuse the same function, just rename it to decrement. And now we have -1 because we are passing in 1 and 2, and 1 minus 2 is -1. And we have in this function we are decrementing and then multiplying, which work exactly like in mathematics. Yeah, and once we run it, we get -3. It depends on if you wrap it in parentheses. So if we wrap it in parentheses, it's gonna first calculate the one inside the parentheses and then multiply it by 3. So we get -3. But if we don't add a parentheses, then we get a different result, which is -5, because we multiplied by 3 first, which is 6, and then 1 minus 6 equals -5. And basically also everything wrapped in parentheses, it has the highest order or the highest priority for calculations. And then we have the obvious one, the last one, which is division, and we return just a divided by b, and we can reuse this one again. It will be 0.5. And let's remove this one so it won't be confusing anymore. Hopefully it wasn't confusing for you guys. And we have one important thing, which is if you don't wanna return a float from a division, we can, create a function called floor division, and let's pass in a and b, and then we return a, which is double division /, and let's use the new function, and we should get an integer, which is the closest one, which is 0. If we try different numbers like 3, we should get 1, and to make it clearer, let's try div to see the difference between them in the output. And as you can see in the output, we have 1.5 for the first one, and the second one has 1. And you can check the types by yourself. I don't think it's really that difficult to understand. And we have, if you want to do power operation, if we, as an example, have this, let's say we want to see the power of a, the one we passed it inside the function. So what we do is we return a and then double asterisk and then b. So let's remove this one and use pow. And now what that means is that it will take 3 and then it will add 2 here. So it's 3 to the power of 2, which is 9. Also very self-explanatory. And we have the operator, which is the percentage sign, and it returns the remainder of the division. It's useful for finding out if a number is an odd number or not an odd number. Let's try it. So the remainder of the division between 3 divided by 2 is 1, and here we can get 0. We have no remainder if we divided 4 by 2. And those are the operators in Python. They are not that difficult. You can try them out by yourself. While we're at it, let's try to learn the types of each parameter that we can. Let's start with this one here. We can specify what kind of parameter type we wanna pass in. Let's say we only wanna use integers and we wanna return an integer as well. So this function returns an integer. As you can see here in this function, we didn't specify anything. So as you can see here that the code editor or the Visual Studio Code doesn't really know what kind of return value this function has, and it doesn't really know what kind of parameter we are expecting. And here you can see that we have the notation that this parameter is an integer and the second one is an integer as well. And the return of this function should be an integer. So if we use it to pass in floats, as you can see here, we get an error. And when we run the program, it still runs, but this is how Python works. It's not really strongly typed language, so it doesn't cause an compilation error, or even if it's not really a compiled language, but when we run the program, it's an interpreted language, so it doesn't really cause any error to pass in different data types than we expected inside the function, which isn't really great, but that's how it works. At least you get an error in the code editor that you are using. And what interpreted means, it means that the code is actually getting read line by line, and then it runs. And that was only a small example just to see what happens and to give you an idea what we can do in Python, but this is not really the full explanation of everything for typing the functions and parameters and the different things. It's really deep and it takes a whole lecture to go through it.